Hello everybody. In this video, we are going to test whether changing the variable refresh rate in Hertz settings will affect input lag on the PS5 and Xbox Series X. I'll be using Tekken 7 for this test on both consoles. I've got a super fast camera that's capable of recording 960 frames per second. I will then count the frame difference between the moment the button bottoms out to when the action happens on screen to calculate the input delay. Alrighty. After a whole entire week of work of testing, recording, and inputting all the data, here we go. On the PS5, 60Hz, VRR off. The average input delay is gonna be 90 milliseconds. We've got 84 on the low end and 100 milliseconds on the high end. At 60Hz, VRR on, I'm getting a 92 milliseconds of average input delay, 86 on the low end, and we got 100 on the high end here. But when you compare the two, it doesn't really make any difference at all. Remember, there's a margin of error for any test really. 2 milliseconds difference, I'm gonna call it the same. Now let's move on to 120Hz, VRR off, 92 milliseconds. So again, this is the same thing. On the low end, I've got 84, and then on the high end, I have 102. At 120Hz, VRR on, the average input delay is 93. Again, it's essentially the same. On the low end, I've got 84 again, and high end, I've got 113. As you can see here on the PlayStation 5, it's essentially the same for all the settings you do. Whether that's VRR off or on is the same, and it's also the same when you change the hertz as well. Alright, let's move on to the Xbox. 60Hz, VRR off. Average input delay, 88. On the low end here, I've got 82. And then on the high end, I've got 102. 60Hz again, VRR on this time. Average input delay is going to be 90. On the low end, I've got 81 and 100 milliseconds on the high end. So on the Xbox, it doesn't seem to make much of a difference at all. Again, just like on the PlayStation, whether you turn VRR on or off. Now let's move on to 120Hz, VRR off on the Xbox. Average input delay, 84 milliseconds. On the low end, I've got 75 milliseconds. And on the high end, I'm getting 96. With VRR on 120Hz, input delay is essentially the same at 85, with the low end being 73, and on the high end, 93. Looking at the Xbox as a whole, the VRR settings doesn't make much of a difference at all. However, going from 60Hz to 120Hz, you can see the dip in input lag. It goes from the high 80s to 90s to the mid 80s. Look at this. And this is different than on the PS5 where the numbers are the same across the board. I'm gonna guess that the reason why there's no difference on the PS5 versus Xbox Series X is because of how the PS5 setting works. On the PS5, you can clearly see here that the setting will only change if the game supports it. Tekken 7 is a last gen game, and obviously the PS4 does not support 120Hz nor VRR. These are newer technologies. Whereas on the Xbox, the console just runs at 120Hz and VRR, regardless of whether the game supports it or not. And this is why you're seeing the reduced input lag at 120Hz on the Xbox Series X. Alrighty, that's gonna be it for me. Hopefully you found the video to be interesting. If you did, give it a like, subscribe for more, and take care now.